All right, good evening, everyone, and hope you all are having a nice time. I hope you can see my screen. If you all could just unmute yourselves, and those who are on Zoom could unmute yourselves and just let me know if you all can see my screen. All right, all right. I think you all should be able to see my screen now, right? Okay, so good evening, everyone, and welcome to another session of the DQ Labs live conversations. And today is a session on private design schools to consider in 2021. Now, this is a complicated process, and no one really knows how to go about it. So, in that sense, I said, let's put this together. We got a lot of students who are asking us questions, and we said, let's put this together and see what can be done. All right. Um, so now I hope you all can see my screen. So the agenda for today is why should you consider a private design school in the first place? How do you get information on each design school? Are there any reliable school rankings? What school options are available? How do I decide which school is good for me? When and how should I apply? And the final Q&A. So starting, but before we start, I just wanted to, there's something that we're proud of. There's tons of DQ Lab students who've qualified. You see, this is not the updated list. There's a lot more results that we've gotten beyond this, and a top rank this year is number 4 in USEED. So something that we're really proud of, and congratulations to Hari Narayanan who scored rank 4 from DQ Labs Chennai. Right. Also, before we start, I hope you have created your account on edge.dqlabs.in/colleges. A lot of the colleges that we are discussing today have been listed here, and it's extremely important that you have this link in the first place. All right. Um, if Rohit is there, let me just see. Rohit could probably um, paste the link here in the YouTube chat, and we could take it from there. All right. Um, yeah, going forward, we hope that you have seen this particular video and a lot more. All right. Now, if you go on to our YouTube channel, you will find this particular webinar called, just one second, you'll find this webinar series. Just give me a second. Right. So I hope you've seen this, and through these DQ Labs conversations, we have had a lot of past toppers who've spoken about this, and a lot of them say that you have to, I mean, the important thing about answering the private design schools is you get experience. You get experience with answering the exam, attempting the exams, the competition levels. So when you go for the NID or NIFT, whether it's round 1 or round 2, you're already comfortable with the format, and that is very important for you. So why should you consider private design schools in the first place, right? Some of you may want to keep it as a backup plan. Some of you may use it for practice, like what the other toppers have said. And some of you are actually considering these colleges for admissions, right? I'm not sure if there are any other situations, but if there are, you could probably type it out in the chat and I could address those as well. Let me have a look at the chat window. Um, yeah, y'all could also, what y'all could also do is keep typing in your questions, and I'll address them as we go along. Now, why should you keep it as a backup plan? All right. Now, this is an interesting statistic. If you go through the past, now this information is not entirely accurate, um, because you need to go through the past the annual reports and all that of these schools to get this information, but these are approximate numbers, relatively accurate. All right. Um, but you have so many test takers, whether it's NID UG or PG or seed USEED or NIFT. These are the number of test takers approximately, and these are the seats available. Now you must remember that the seats are divided. All right, almost 50 to 60, 50% would be, around 50% would be general merit, and the other 50% would be for reserved categories, right? So your chances of getting, although your chances of getting in is probably 3%, but if you fall in the general merit category, your chances are 1.5%, right? And similarly, if you're in the reserve categories, you have a better chance as well, because you could apply through both the general merit as well as the reserved category. So, but for all practical purposes, just for the sake of this discussion, if you are in the general merit category, then your chances are about 1.5% or less. All right. Um, Now, these are for the colleges, the intended, all right, intended colleges. So, all the campuses intended here. Now, interestingly, if you are a student of DQ Labs, your chances of getting through are almost 15 to 20%. All right. So if you see, currently 15% of the students at NID Ahmedabad 2020 batch are from DQ Labs, right? Um, so your chances go up much higher if you are a student of DQ Labs, and this is absolute fact. All right. Now, why is it important that you get into a good school? All right, whether it's an NID or whether it's a private design school, you learn all these skills. Everything is going to be taught to you, through practical exercises, through industry interactions, XYZ. A lot of things are taught to you. But it's not just these skills that are important for you to become a successful designer. All right. And when I say design, I'm using design as a very, um, what should I say, as a very fluid term. I'm using it for design, I'm using it for fashion, and similarly. All right. But these are the general skills that you need to have. Now, some of these they teach you at school. I mean, almost all of these are taught at all schools. All right, but some of these are more important than the others. For example, your business skills, right? You may be a fabulous fashion designer or product designer, but if you cannot sell yourself, right? If you cannot build relationships, now these are skills, softer skills that help you. If you cannot market your product, right? So you may not be an expert at it, but you need to um, focus on these. So these are certain skills that not all schools focus on, right? All you see here in black are all technical skills, and helps you, yeah, learn the skills well, makes you a good designer fundamentally, technically, yes. But it's the other skills that make you a lot better, right? Now, this is the level of exposure you get at different schools. They may give you this level of exposure at an Indian level, at a maybe they may take you to slum areas, they may take you to high end areas, but the level of it could be an international exposure, right? So these are the levels of exposure that you get, and what is most striking is this last one, which we call as adapting to change. Every school has to prepare you to adapt to change, right? So this now this is a little deep, so you really need to understand this uh, well. All right. So I showed you the primary skills, and now I showed you this the additional skills, right? Now, is it rocket science for, let's say, all schools, right? Why is it that there are few good schools and some not good schools, right? Is it really rocket science? Why can't all schools give all this exposure? Now, this let's move on to find out about this. All right. For this, you really need to understand, why do schools exist, right? Now, say you are the owner of a school, right? And you want to exist for some reason. Now, the question is why, what is it? So you would have a vision, right? So the vision would be there's a current need in the market, or there may be a future industry need that you foresee. There could be a lot of competition, um, foresee, or it could be for a sense of competition. Okay, I'm XYZ school. The other school is, has started a design program. So hence, I too should start a design program. A lot of schools start off because of that. All right. And of course, for profit. Most of the schools are not funded by the government. Even the NIDs, NIFTs, the funding from the government is reducing. They want to make these institutes self sufficient. Hence, um, they exist for profit. All right. So when they exist for profit, they reach out to companies come here, there's a lot of industry interaction, they charge companies, they give those opportunities to students, and hence it's good. It's good if if a school profits from you joining them. It's good if a school profits from uh, you know projects that come from industry. So all of that is good, right? um, right. So I've got a question from Hari. I'm going to address this question, Hari, in a bit, but let me go a little ahead now. To address this vision, all right, you have, so all these things, so this really is what I'm talking about, leads to a philosophy, right? A philosophy for why a school exists. And this philosophy is driven by the management of the institute, right? So when we talk about, say, NIDs or NIFTs, government schools, what happens is the philosophy is set. India needs to grow, India needs to compete at at a global level. India has needs to solve for the country's own population and for the population of the future. Hence, we need design to solve these problems, and hence the need for these colleges to exist. That is the NIDs, NIFTs, IITs, all of those. However, when it comes to the private schools, they also look at the same, they exist for the same reasons. They see a need in India, they see the reason for profit, they see the need for competition, that they have competition, right? So they need to fight and ensure that they're better than each other. So all of these things lead to the philosophy, and also, the managements really drive this. Now you need to, when you look at private design schools, all right, um, you will be bombarded with information, each school telling you different things. We are good at this, we are good at that. And really what they're doing is, um, they are throwing choices at you. All right, so you have choices now. Now having those choices also could be a problem, right? Now for you, it could be an expensive affair to apply to these schools. So there is not just one school you need to apply to, five, six, seven, eight. All right, considering you have a backup plan. Now, even if you get through NID round one or NIFT round two, there are no guarantees that you'll get in through the round two as well, right? So that's why we do recommend having a backup plan is very, very important, and it's important to see which backup plan to have. Um, so now, coming back to your choices, it's expensive, right? So maybe some of you may want to apply to about 10 schools, some of you for about 5 schools, and some of you say, I don't want to apply at all to any private school. I recommend, at least 4 to 5 schools as your backup plan. It's important to have these backup plans. And I think you should consider these. All right. Now, um, it could be confusing. It could be confusing for multiple reasons. Number one, which the school is brilliant, but it's not in a city I'm comfortable with. This school is brilliant, but they're not giving me a BTES degree. This school is brilliant, but you know, um, my parents don't want to let me out of the city. So there's various aspects that, or they may not have a hostel. So there's very various aspects that you need to consider, which leads to a lot of confusion. All right, there's lack of transparency and information. There's no consolidated place where you can see all schools together, where you can compare the schools, find out information, all of that, right? Constant calls from schools. Suddenly, out of nowhere, you get a call. You have no clue how they got your number, but they're calling you. You've applied, and they're saying, pay the money now, right? Um, Pay or apply, and you, these constant calls sometimes are bugging, sometimes it creates a curiosity in you, but either ways it needs to be considered. All right, another thing is national college ranks are not out, right? So maybe the NID round 2 NID results are not out, or NIFT results have just come out, but deadlines are approaching, right? So there's so many reasons that cause this confusion for you. Now, coming down to choosing a school which is right for you. All right, now I'm going to take about 5 minutes on this aspect. All right, of 5 to 10 minutes. By 5:30, I want to open it up for question and answers. Right. So, very important publication that BDes degrees. All right. So BDes degrees are offered by all the NIDs and IITs and NIFTs, but BDes degrees have to be approved by the All India Council for Technical Education. All right. So um, they need to get that approval from AICT, then they can award this BDes degree or MDes degree. All right. So that's why you will see some institutes which don't have the BDes, some institutes which do. And what do we want for you, right? We want you to have brilliant opportunities when you graduate. We want you to have research and development oriented jobs, right? That's when you get good quality jobs, good quality opportunities, and when you stand out from any designer, right? Now, coming down to the school, whether government school versus private schools, what are the degrees, what are all the things that are being offered. Now, if you look at institutes of national importance, NIDs, IITs, CPT, NIFTs, all of these, they give BDes degrees, Bachelor of Interior Design, or things like that. If you look at private universities are allowed to give BDes degrees, right? So that's why you'll see, private universities giving that. Um, However, some of the private universities, they give a bachelor program degree or a BSc or a BA. There are different reasons for this. All right. um, Government universities again can give you all of these: BSc, BVOC, BDes, BBA, all of that. All right. But private institutes, please pay attention to this. Private institutes are at a crossroad. They really want to give you the degree, what you want, but the government framework does not allow for them to give you a degree, right? Now, the rules say that if a private institute wants to give you a degree, they need to tie up with a government institute. All right. So, let's say a school in Bangalore needs to either be a university by themselves, or they need to tie up with a university. Now, they just can't tie up with any random university. They need to tie up or operate. Yeah. So if they are tying up with a government university, then they can award that degree. All right, whatever the degree they get approvals for. But otherwise, they need to be located on the campus of the university, of a private university, and then they can award you those degrees from here. All right. I hope this is not confusing to you as of now. Um, do we have to consider BDes in RV University? It's starting next. Okay, so there are a few questions regarding specific colleges. I'll come down to those questions. All right. But I'm just having a look at them for now. Yes. So ideally, now, is it important? Is it like crazy important that I have to have a BTS degree? How important is it? Um, right. So that this is always a a question mark. A university or a private school, private university will always say, oh yes, a BDes degree is the most important thing, and that's going to happen. But a private institute is always going to fight that and say, um, you know what, a BDes degree doesn't matter. We've tied up with some global university, and we are offering the global degree. This is recognized all over the world. You know, you'll find this battle that keeps happening. All right. Now, the my advice to sort that problem out is to actually have a call with the university or the school or the institute. Talk to them. All right. Tell them that this is your concern. I am concerned about the degree. What are my opportunities? Where are the opportunities going to get constrained? Ask them straightforward. Do not mince your words. Ask them. Let them clarify for you. All right. Let them give you examples. Let them give you, uh, you know, history of their students who've cleared. Talk to their existing students if you can. Try and link up and talk to them, some of the existing students, or you need to do some research on this level. All right. um, Now, as far as placements are concerned, all right, the biggest concern that a lot of you are thinking is, and this is what I get from parents, right, is will I get placements, right? Now, one thing you need to know, irrespective of what degree you're getting from your school, the one and only focus through the 4 years of your bachelor's or the 2 years of your master's is your portfolio. Nothing else matters more than your portfolio. You may have a BDes degree from an NID, but if you're sleeping and you don't have a good portfolio, nobody can help you, right? Uh, Now, most schools will not really talk about their placements. Most schools will show you a big list of logos, all right? But those are schools that have come and companies that have come and hired over a long period of time. Most schools will show you those logos and show you, this company came, that company came, and they hired so many students, right? Now, there's always an issue with that. Um, you need to take it with a pinch of salt, all right? Just because an institute is showing you, um, it does not mean that you have that's entirely accurate. Of course, the institutes want to be as transparent as possible, right? But really, it also boils down to the quality of the job. you know is a student going there just because of the salary, just because of the quality of the job or the brand name of the company, or is it something that the student genuinely wants to do? These are the touch points that are always sketchy. So even if a college shows you something great, it's not necessarily that all students who join that are happy. Please remember, placements in a design school do not work like placements in an engineering school. There may be these few companies, maybe an Infosys or a TCS or a Wipro may come and hire 10, 20 design students, but that is not a regular thing. It could happen, fine, fair enough, but don't expect it to happen. Generally, companies will come hire one, two, three students. Okay. Generally, a big bulk of the students don't even sit for the placements, right? Because through the program, they've understood a position, they've understood what they want to do, and they want to try for certain companies, specific companies, and they will apply directly without the placements of the school. All right. But it's always good to have a placement cell. So brownie points scored for schools that do have a placement cell. Okay. Irrespective, your focus has to be on the portfolio. Now, very, very important. All right. When we talk about the parameters to select a design school, now a lot of parents are and students are just so confused. Where do I start from? Okay, my friend is applying here, so I will apply here, and my friend is applying there, I will apply there, or Dion is saying this, or somebody else is saying that. All right. Now, from DQ Labs, I'm one of those who's traveled to almost 60 to 70 different schools across India. All right. So I have seen tremendous schools. I've interacted with tons of faculty. I've traveled to all corners of India just to give you this talk. All right. Um, I'm not aware of anybody else who's done such an extensive study on design schools in India. And very frankly, one of the questions right at the beginning, or questions I said I would address, is there an official ranking of design schools in India? Right now, my answer to that is no. All right. So there is something called the NIRF rankings. All right, or National Institute rankings. Let me share my screen. I'm going to show you this website. All right. But if I have a look at these websites, I do not see, number one, design is not here. But even if I go to the architecture ranks, I don't see this as a very reliable um, list. All right. It maybe they've started it and it's good that they've started, but I don't think this is a list that you can rely upon. Now, the next question is, um, so what can you rely upon? All right. What can, now, being a person who's traveled to these 60, 70 different schools, I cannot say that that even if I create a list, that list is going to be a good list. All right, because it's so dynamic. It's so many factors that you need to consider when you select a design school, that um, that it's very confusing. Now, the parameters that I talk for me would be different from the parameters that are important to you, and would be different to the parameters that are important to somebody else. All right. For example, if I say, oh, there's this brilliant school in Delhi, but you don't want to go to Delhi, right? You want to be in Bangalore. So these are the parameters. Or you want to go to a school in maybe Mumbai, right? So those, now, it doesn't matter to you whether there's a brilliant school in Delhi. You want to go to the school in Mumbai. So these are the factors that is very personal to everybody, and that's why I'm helping you build your own. Um, my idea is to help you build your own um ranking system. Right now, how do you go about it is always confusing. You could always start off with location. Right, number one, start off with location. Which locations are you comfortable with? Which locations are you not? If you know you're not comfortable in few locations, no, so be it. There are a lot of other options. Number one. Number two, what is the fee structure that you're looking at? Right, there's some schools with a fee structure of starting from maybe a lakh or so. It goes on to 8 lakhs, 9 lakhs, and sometimes it becomes really confusing that should I really pay 8 lakhs, or why can't I go abroad and study abroad? Right. So all these questions come to you. um just one second. Right. The next, yeah, the next thing is the degree or diploma. Are you okay with a BA or a BSc degree, or a distance learning degree? Are you okay with that? Are you, or do you want an international degree? Do you want a BDes? These are, again, another personal question. So if you see these first 3 points, these are very, very personal questions to you and your situation. Right. um, but if you look at the next set of points, the head of the institute, what is the philosophy that they have? Why do they exist? Right, do they exist because there's another university in the same city that started a design department? Do they exist because they have a spare building, and okay, now what I do with the spare building? Okay, let me uh, put up a design school. Or do they say, you know what, I think this is the gap in the market, and this is the reason um, why I'm not finding any design schools or courses accordingly, and that's why I want to start a design school. So the philosophies are very important. All right, the head of the institute implements that philosophy. The head of the institute hires faculty which share that philosophy. The head of the institute drives that through the curriculum, through your exposure, through every activity in that school. And that's the reason why, if I go right to this slide, the philosophy or the person who enforces the philosophy implements this and gives this to you. All right. So that is the reason you should look out for a school. And that's the reason why the head of the institute or the philosophy, why they exist, is important. Brand always good, but it could be misleading. Now, for example, there are universities in all cities, all right, that say, oh, that may be well known and have brilliant brand value for their engineering programs or their medicine programs or law XYZ, but their brand value for design is dead. It does not exist. All right. um, that's why what they do is they piggyback on the existing brand and say, okay, let me just get some random person to head the institute, and so that we finish the curriculum. But ultimately what they will do is they'll just give you the basic uh, degree. You'll get your degree, but you will not get that exposure, right? So the brand is very important. Infrastructure is, always sketchy. Some schools prefer to be in the center of the city. Obviously they would have a constrained infrastructure, very small, but their principle would be to, get you a lot more exposure or industry interaction, versus a school that says, okay, let me open my campus outside, have a huge campus type environment, and give you a more academic perspective, right? So the infrastructure changes based on that. A lot of people tell me that, they want to join a school because they hear the faculty is good. Now faculty is important, it's a very important factor, all right. um, but is it everything? Now, I have seen schools, brilliant faculty. The next year, the faculty have left and started their own school, right? So, so faculty are, in general, very short term in their views, and so that's why when you consider school, consider the head and not really the faculty. All right, faculty is important. I put it as a parameter, but it's not everything. All right. Similarly, as I explained earlier, placements are important, but it's not everything. All right, your portfolio is more important, and that portfolio will come based on point number 4, which is your institute. All right. Yeah, so the list of schools to consider is over here on dqlabs.in, edge.dqlabs.in/colleges. Rohit, I don't know if you've pasted um, the slide yet. Pasted the link, yes, okay, and yeah, so I hope that's there. Anyway, so if you need to get in touch with us, uh, our team number is 959 100 1000. We have our centers all across India: Bangalore, Chennai, Pune, Hyderabad, Nagpur, Mangalore, Thrissur. So we are all across India, and we have a great online presence as well. We have a brilliant learning platform. Um, and now I will come down to the Q&A session. Um, and yes, by the way, I'm going to so all those who are attending this in all those who are attending this particular webinar. Hold on. Yeah, Rohit, you may have to share this link in the chat box to everybody. All right. Um, right. So so Rohit, you can share it in the chat box, and those who are on Zoom, and the feedback form for this webinar, for those who want have certain questions, y'all can fill up the feedback form. It's there in the description of this webinar. Let me do one thing. Let me share my screen. All right. Just a second. So, so I'm going to just share my screen right now. All right. And if you're looking at my screen, you see this feedback form. I want you to click on this link. And when you click on this link, it comes here. It takes you to uh, edge.dklabs.in/colleges, where you can have a look at the colleges here. And if you click on this, you reach the feedback form page where I would like you to give your feedback for this webinar at the end of this. All right. Now, coming down to this. Now, what I want you to do is come here, click on these. Now I got a call from a couple of people before this webinar saying, you know, which school is good for this, which school is good for that. So I'm going to tell you, it's hard to really generalize, but like I mentioned, if a school has a has their philosophy sorted out for one department, then or for the school, then all the departments in that school will be good. All right. So let's take Palakshet called me up earlier and said, um, I want to know which schools are good for let's say interior design. All right. So now I'm going to come here and I'm going to show you. So what I want you to do is come here and click on design. All right. Now when you come to this design section, you will see these schools. So UID, Pearl, Jindal, all these are good for interior design. You know, in fact, pretty much all the programs that they have are good. All right, including these. You know, if you see all these programs, just scroll down through all of these. All of these are pretty good for absolutely every program that they have. All right. Um, Jindal School has something very unique. It's called if you click on this, they have a program called BA in Built Environment. Right, it's a very interesting program. They have an interior design program as well, and BA in Built Environment Studies. So these are important things to have a look at. So. Uh, so look through all of these um, you know these colleges, see the list of fees. Some of this may be updated, some of these may not be updated. All right, so it's important that you try this. Let's say Gurukul, for example, you can click on this, and what happens is there are two things that could happen. You could either visit the college website or you could click on the Enquire Here button. So let's say you click on the Enquire Here. Your details will be shared with the school. All right. So you're giving your consent for this. I just want to make it clear. All right. If you click on no, your details will not be shared. Um, but but you can also visit the college website from here and do everything that you require. All right, I'm just going to shut my video for a couple of minutes. Yes, so I'm open to taking questions. Now I'm going to uh, answer the question from Hari. When we want to pursue new age design courses like communication design at NIFTs and IITs do not seem to be offering many options. How well equipped are private design schools to offer these? Lovely question. All right, really good question. Now if you see NIDs and NIFTs, they do exist to fill up gaps in the current markets, but what they really do by virtue um, of existing, they give you so many opportunities that really you become flexible. And I mentioned one key point: adapting to change. Right, so you learn to adapt to change. So whatever you, if a college is preparing you for the present, then that's it. What you learn is going to be dead in the next 3 4 years, right? By the time you graduate, it's dead. The college should prepare you for future. All right, so that's where your question is very relevant. um, NIDs, NIFTs do train you to adapt to these changes. All right, a lot of the private design schools will give you a lot more options. They have very relevant curriculum. They have very relevant ways of delivering these programs. They have international programs, international interactions. So all of that is very important. So again, a very personal call. If you go through these um, schools, you'll get to understand what happens. All right. How well equipped are private design schools to offer these new age courses? Some of them are brilliant, right? They have brilliant infrastructure. They have brilliant, they give you a brilliant platform. Like for example, Pearl Academy gives you a brilliant platform. If you're a fashion design student in year 4, they have this thing called portfolio showcase, where they talk about, where you get to present what you've done. The platform that I've seen them deliver is outstanding, right? Similarly, uid has a brilliant platform. They give tremendous exposure to their students. ITM has a brilliant communication design program. So does ISDI, um, which is here way down there. So you need to explore every school in particular to get, and kind of look at the schools, look at what they're offering. Okay, but typically as a guideline, all these schools here are good. Like for example, MIT is brilliant for their for their um, you know transportation design program, right? It's brilliant. So the next question is, do we have a ranking for design schools by discipline? The answer to that is no. There is no ranking as such. um, as a general guideline, you can look at the QS World rankings, but that applies for global colleges, not really the Indian schools. All right. uh, Harshit is asking, what is the best way to study for these entrance exams for free? Harshit, uh, please do call our you know fill in the feedback form. Our counselors will get in touch with you. There's tons of free resources available on DQ Edge itself. All right, so you could look into that. Now I'm going to go and have a look at the other um, questions, all right, that people have been asking. Let me look at that. Hold on. Okay, now coming down to questions, do we have to consider BDES in RV University, which is starting next year? Yeah, Anita, BDES in RV you can definitely consider. Um, my sense is that there are a lot of good schools. Stick to the schools on the list. Those are good ones. All right. Mayuri is asking, how is MIT for MDES in user experience design? Mayuri, MIT, there are three different MITs. MIT Pune, there's MIT World Peace University, there's MIT um, uh, ID, and there's another MIT. So there's multiple MITs over there. Um, like I mentioned, see, the programs will be good, but if you're looking at a UI UX design, you want an outstanding program, you could look at communication design, and some of the colleges like Pearl or UID or ITM. Some of these colleges, or MIT WPU has a good program as well. Um, Sahil, will I be talking about MDES? Yes, what I'm discussing is relevant for BDES and MDES as well. All right, so very important. Derek Anthony, is portfolio essential requirement for any admission in BDES? Derek, not necessarily. It depends. We have done, please go back on our previous webinars. We've done a session on portfolios for Indian schools and portfolio for schools abroad. Portfolio is very important when you get into a design school, but the idea of that portfolio is just to see that you have an inherent interest, and you have some kind of inclination, and it's a showcase of that. But having it well presented is very important because it's a conversation starter when you talk to when you go for your panel discussion, right? But um, but when you graduate, that's when the portfolio becomes much more important. Derek, there are some schools like Strat, for example, which doesn't have a test, but they only go by the portfolio that you create. This is for a BDES program, right? Um, so, can you tell about the top BDES colleges? So, Sanvi is asking, can you talk about the BDES, top BDES colleges, government and private both? Sanvi, there's tremendous number of BDES colleges all across India. Like I mentioned, the college may have a great brand, they may have a BDES program, but personally, I have been to a school which got approved by the AICTE. This is a university which started a BDES program, um, approved by AICTE. They had one faculty hired, that is the head of the institute, zero other faculty, zero infrastructure, right? It's just that when AICTE came in, they showed them they're a university, right? So they had so many schools, there's so many classrooms. They just said, oh, these are the classrooms, this is the infrastructure, this is that. They got the approval, right? I'm not getting into the name of the university, but it's very important that you'll know this, that BDES is not everything. All right, just because a school has a BDES doesn't mean that the school is great. All right, yes, amongst the BDES programs you can look for schools, but do consider schools that don't give a BDES as well, that may give you a BA or BSc, whatever. Consider that because some of them are really good. All right. When building the portfolio, will the interviewers appreciate slide titles with the sense of humor? Taruni, I'm sure, as you need to get your attention of the person, but I'm not the right person to really help you with that. The team that looks and helps you with your portfolio is a different team. You can look through the previous webinar uh, on portfolio. And if you're enjoying this webinar, please click on the like button because I'm not seeing too many likes, and it's very important that we are encouraged as well. Taruni says, like, tell about the page content in a funny way. Yes, Taruni. So you can go wild with your portfolio, right? You can put a lot of humor to that, but yes, um, definitely you can talk to the relevant teams, and they will help you out. Right? Uh, what if location? Vinti is asking, what if location isn't a factor and the curriculum is important? How do we find which institute has a better curriculum? Right, Vinti. This is always a tough question to answer. Now, what we have done, if you look at the webinars being organized by DQ Labs, we are inviting various design schools to come and talk to you. I see, I started this series, but I'm not saying people coming in. So I want you to come in. So if you click on the subscribe button here, or if you fill up the form, there's a the form over there, you will be notified of these interactions. All right, so I'm getting design schools to come and talk to you so that you can ask your questions directly. But if you guys are not attending that, there's nothing I can do. However, um, if you do go through our YouTube channel, you will see this series called E-Meet Your Design School and Fashion School. So an architecture school. So go through that, watch the webinars. People are asking questions that are directly important to you, and it's important that you answer those, that you consider those schools as well. All right. As far as identifying the curriculum, nothing like getting it from the people who define the philosophy. That's the reason why we invite them for these webinars. How do you find out which category schools fall under. Aditya Shriram, um, it's a tough thing to find out which category the schools come under, but yeah, but I think as a guideline, you can just go on to DQH. The schools that are listed there are pretty much um, what it is. If you have more questions about specific schools in specific, maybe you could type it out in the feedback form and we could talk about those at a later stage. Um, Mahima Prasanna is asking, is there any private college better than triple ITDM, Jabalpur? Mahima, let's put it this way. Each school exists for a different reason. All right. Um, if you do consider, I mean, some of the schools are really good. So, like I said, there's really no comparison. There's no way to say one school is better than the other. But IIT, triple ITDM, I think would be a good choice. If you're looking at private schools, just go by the ones listed on DQH. That would be better. All right. Arshia Madan, is IIAD better or ISDI better? I've been to both. I think both are brilliant. All right. Um, both of them fall under the category of institutes which do not give you a BDes degree. Both of them have tied up with universities to give you a BSc degree or a BA degree, things like that. Both of them have tied up with foreign universities to deliver, a truly international curriculum. Um, and both are excellent. I think ISDA has some phenomenal programs for when it comes to um, product design and communication design and visual effects, all of that, VFX. And I think uh, IIAD has a brilliant programs again for communication design, for fashion, and for interiors. Okay. um, right. So the next question. Oh wow, a lot of questions. Are these schools displayed on the site on priority? No, they're not displayed in terms of priority. It's just in any order. So there's no priority listing, Arshia. How is ITM College Mumbai? Anu, I think ITM is one of those brilliant schools when it comes to visual effects, right? Now, the reason why ITM is outstanding for visual effects is because they've tied up with this university called, with this academy called Prime Focus Academy, and they actually work on real Hollywood and Bollywood films and, outstanding stuff. So please go through the webinars we've done with them before. Outstanding webinars. I think that's important. Which are the best schools for automotive transportation design? Aditya, I think when it comes to private schools for transportation and automotive, I think you'll need to probably broaden your horizon. But MIT, Pune, Strat, these are the good schools that come to mind. I think UID has a brilliant program as well. So I think you can consider all of that. But if you broaden your horizon to industrial design or maybe product design, you could still work with the automotive company. All right. Um, Anu Balaji, why is Srishti School of Design not included in your list? See, some schools do not um, want their information to be put on private schools, private pages, so they do not want it. So I respect that, and that's the reason why. But I do invite them to talk. I do invite them for webinars, and if you want to be on that webinar, please give us your feedback. All right. um, which private universities are good for communication design and product design? I think, Saraja, all those universities that are there listed on DQH are pretty good and can be considered. All right. Which are the best colleges for communication design? Like I mentioned, it's very difficult to put in a thing and say this is the best and that is the best. But in general, all those schools listed is good. Is CEPT good for BDes or in interior design? Right, Sanvi, if I understand right, BIDes, by that you mean B bachelor's in interior design. I think CEPT is outstanding. In fact, Neha Joshi, she heads our a program, the DQ Lab Center at Nagpur. She is a graduate of CAPT Ahmedabad. It is outstanding. She's an interior designer. It's outstanding. All right. So I would definitely recommend that for you. Any particular institutes which are better than others for MDes? Um, Vinti, I suggest that when it comes to MDes, you need to see who really, ideally, what you need to see is probably the age of the institute, number one. Number two, who is heading that institute and how long they've existed, right? So that will give you some kind of an idea. But it's hard to say. So I would say, probably uh, all the schools that give a, so by virtue of MDes, you mean that you're looking at a university, right? Or a school that gives a university degree. So um, yeah, so you need to probably consider. I don't have an answer for you, which is better than the others, but probably Jain University is one of those schools which give you an MDes. But again, it's a new university. But I recommend Jain not because of um, the age of the institute, but because the person who's heading Jain, right? So I'm going to skip questions. In your personal opinion, uh, what is your personal opinion on Anant National University? So I have put Anant National University on my list. Definitely, I think it's a very affordable university. Um, so this broadens, the ability for someone who's finding affordability an issue. I think if affordability is an issue, I think this has to be considered number one on your priority list. But if affordability is not an issue, then you have a lot more choice. All right. What are your thoughts on Anant University? I've answered that. How is Strat for product design? So Shashank, Strat I think is outstanding when it comes to product design. um, I think the person who heads the program in India is brilliant. I definitely think it's a must consider. All right, for product or automotive. Strat is known globally for their transportation design and product design and industrial design programs. Right, so that's what, and they maintain the standards. Um, Sharanya, how is humanizing technology course offered by NMIMS? Sharanya, I think the course humanizing technology, all right, um, it is it is a new program. So this is the new age courses we were talking about earlier, right? New age courses, very nice course. This is um, it's called by different names, human factors. It's called UI and UX, and different terminologies which mean the same. Overall, I think NMIMS. I have not visited the school. I'm not very sure how it is, um, but so I can't really comment on their program. But I think as a technology program, as a program, UI UX, humanizing technology, these are all good programs. Okay, Prerna, in Bangalore, what are the suggested colleges for communication design? Right, in Bangalore, I think Shrishti for sure. Shrishti, Pearl Academy. I think I'm not sure if Jane has a communication design program. Um, yeah, so um, uh, Strat has a program for identity design, all right, not mainstream communication. It's more related to marketing. Then there are other schools that are fairly good that you can consider, but these are the good ones, all right. uh, Manjula, PES University, um, I think you can consider this, but I've not listed it uh, on my platform. um, you know I think this would be on the lines of a RV, or or some of the schools that way, right? Uh, yes. So PES is another Prerna. PES is another school that did not want their branding put on any other external website, and that's the reason why we have not put them there. All right, but I would definitely prioritize Srishti. I think they're brilliant, um, and I think you could go with that. All right. Um, for communication design, which is better, Pearl or MIT? Um, somehow, uh, somehow I think communication program. I think Pearl has been there for about 30 years in this industry. I think they're pretty good. Um, so I would like I would think that Pearl has an outstanding program. MIT, like I mentioned earlier, outstanding for transportation design. The Pearl, their communication design can be considered as well. All right. Um, Ananya Singhi, sorry, Ananya Sarangi, MIT ADT. I'm not very sure about MIT ADT, unfortunately. I'm familiar with MIT ID and MIT WPU. I'm unfortunately not very familiar with ADT. Which are the good design universities abroad, especially in the UK? How to find the design ranking for these schools? So, Saraja Puranik, I think good question. We've done a webinar before on study abroad programs. Please look at that. We've also done a program earlier, which is for portfolio design outside. All right. So I Okay, so Saraja is also asking the diploma program from ISDI is equivalent to a degree course from other private universities, or is degree important? Saraja, I've mentioned about ISDI and similar programs. I think it's a personal choice. Personally, I don't see any issues with the degree. Uh, but whether I see issues with the degree or not, it's your comfort level. So that's up to you. Anurag, which would you suggest between Strat School of Design and ISDI? Both are brilliant. I think both have outstanding faculty. Both have a brilliant setup. Both have, um, exist for the same reason. I think, and both are in the same price point. Um, so I think you apply to both of these. I'm not sure which one. I know you've got phenomenal talent. So I'm really not sure which of these. It's like choosing um, between say IIT Guwahati and IIT um, Bombay, right? So or they're both good. They're both good, and either one would be good. All right. Sambit is asking what with Srishti collaborating with Manipal, how are things going to shape up? I think that's a good collaboration. I think this has given Srishti the ability to award a BDes degree by themselves and really keep their curriculum good and well structured. So I think it is superb. Okay, where are the upcoming NID colleges coming? So Aditya, the upcoming NID colleges will be announced. I think we need to wait for them to be announced. There's a lot of them expected to come up in the near future. Vidya Suresh, Symbiosis. How is Symbiosis? I've been to Symbiosis. Um, Pune, I think their UI UX design program is good, and that can be considered. All right. Can you tell some good industrial product design schools? I've mentioned that. I had heard that the degree provided by Pearl Academy does not have much value in India. How can the even then can we consider it good? Adya, yes. So for some reason, I think Pearl Academy gives you a good level of exposure um, with industry, and that's the reason why I would suggest Pearl Academy. I think the academics are brilliant. The faculty is brilliant. I think they're always based in the middle of the city. The interaction with industry is brilliant. There's a lot of learning with Pearl Academy. So I think it's got a lot of good in that. Um, the degree, like I mentioned, I personally think it's fine. I don't say anything wrong with the degree, but again, it's each one's personal choice. I would require you to speak with them, clarify all the doubts. I have scheduled another webinar with them on the 24th of this month, I think, probably on the 23rd or 24th. Uh, you will be informed. So that's when You can ask them the question yourselves. All right. Has the application for process for Srishti started? I'm not sure. I don't think so. What colleges would you suggest for interior design? Pretty much all the colleges there are good. College in particular for interior design, CEPT, of course, IIAD, Jindal School, Sonipat. I would, all these are very good. Can you suggest interior design schools in Bangalore and Chennai? Interior design programs in Bangalore, again, Shrishti, Pearl Academy. Uh, there is, the Jain Academy, Jain School does not have a mainstream uh, interior design program. I'm not sure, but you can consider all the schools. Um, there are these new schools like Presidency and Atria University is starting up with the school, so I'm not really sure. All right, but when it comes to Chennai, there's not too many good schools in Chennai, but one that you can consider would be Dot School of Design. All right, so Anurag, is Pearl Academy a good option for product design in Bangalore? Yes, I think so. How would you rate Walkson? Um, Arjadeep, I do think Walkson can be considered, all right, but probably at this stage I'm not sure. I think the new management has changed a little, so I would like to invite them for a webinar. When we invite them for a webinar, please do ask them, confirm, see what they say, and try and see. Oh, another very important school I've missed talking about is JK Lakshmipat University. JK Lakshmipat University is a brilliant school. I think it's new. It's pretty new, but I think the person who used to head art attacks is also heading that school. So I think they come with a lot of passion, right? Um, Taj Banu in Chennai, I recommend Dot School of Design. All right, DOT School of Design. I don't have their logo on, so their logo is on my website already, but that is you need to go to a different to the DQ Labs website. UPES. So Vidya, UPS is a good school. If you're willing to travel all the way to Dehradun, I think it's a good school to consider. The product design department is very good, or industrial design, so I think that can be considered as well. What school in Pune would you suggest for product design? Uh, Yash, I think MIT Pune would be considered. MIT WPU and MIT ID. All right. Um, Anant University, yes, Meghna, it's good. Anant University for communication design, so I think that's fine. Manisha Sinha, there is a BDES program by Riddle Academy under Somaya University. I have no idea about that. All right. Vidya, Vellore Institute of Technology, I think, has a locational disadvantage. I'm not sure. I've personally not been there, but I'm not sure what level of exposure or industry interaction you could get at Vellore. So that's something you'll have to check out. All right. Manjula, DJ Academy Coimbatore as well. I would think the same thing. I'll try and get these schools to talk to you um, directly. All right. I think we've gone over time, but there are a few questions that have come on Zoom as well. Could you share some feedback for Watson and DJAD? So Watson and DJAD, I know aspiring colleges. DJAD has been there for some time, but let me leave it to them. I'll invite them, and when I invite them, I hope all of you all will participate to understand. Now, again, I'm mentioning when I call you to participate for this, whether you are you intend joining the college or not is secondary. Let's say there's a school you're not keen on joining. Absolutely not. Attend attend the webinar because it gives you an idea of the philosophy. It'll help you understand your school better. It'll understand the delivery better. It'll help you understand what you should be doing better, right? Because your school may not focus on that, but you can focus on that, right? Um, So, uh, that most school, okay, most top schools offering B does programs approved by UGC and not AICTE. Uh, all right. So Hari is saying most of the top colleges seem to be offering B does approved by UGC and not AICTE. Uh, Understand the purpose of UGC is different. The purpose of AICTE is different. The purpose of UGC is to approve universities. The purpose of AICTE is to approve courses in the universities. All right, there's a huge difference between the two. So BDAS is always approved by AICTE and not UGC. Okay, um, they have indicated that many schools have indicated that AICT approval is being challenged in the Supreme Court. Yeah, these things take time, and but AICT would probably win. But what's in the Supreme Court will take time. But what is at hand is what we go by at this point of time. Okay. Um, Watson said from the current year they only offer UGC approved courses. Fine. Um, yeah. So I've answered some of these questions. Are there any good design schools in Bangalore that offer graphic design, 2D animation, and VFX courses? So yes, if you're looking at courses and if you're looking at degrees, Harshit, the question here to everybody is: are there any good design colleges in Bangalore that offer graphic design, 2D animation, or VFX courses? Yes. So all the design schools offer this, but there are some non-design schools like Bangalore School of Design. I mean, that is also a design school. Bangalore School of Design or Native Puppets. Look this up. Native Puppets they offer courses which are pretty good. We would recommend that. Okay, so what are some of the affordable design schools in Bangalore for animation and graphic design or VFX courses? So Harshit, if you're looking at a mainstream school, uh, we're looking at, you know um, probably Pearl Academy or Srishti and all of these. All right, but there are schools that offer BSc programs. All right, which is like Bangalore School of Design, which is like Native Puppets. So they offer BSc programs. You could consider those. Those are pretty good and are affordable as well. All right. So I hope I've answered as many questions as possible. Um, Last few questions. Jain University is good. Is Jain University good considering it's a new university? Um, Meghna, question from Meghna. The answer to that, my answer to that is yes. I would think that, see, there's two aspects to this. All right, number one is whenever there's a new university, there are always teething troubles. All right, but when there is a philosophy attached, they can overcome those teething troubles, right? So let's say I'm a university with plenty of funds. I will just put up the funds. I will put up the university. I'll put up a building, start off everything. Let's run this well, and let's market it well, right? So that's what happens with a lot of the universities that are there just to kind of promote the program. But with Jane, they've got the right team on top, right? The person who's heading Jane, I believe, I believe he's got. So he's Dr. Goshal, who has over 30 years of experience, teaching experience at NIDs, right? So he's the founder of NID Bangalore, founding director. So he knows what he's doing, right? Um, so whether to go by him or whether to go by the brand, at at this stage, I would probably consider uh, his Dr. Goshal being the reason why you should join that, because you will get that industry connect, you'll get that exposure or that insight. um, but again, like I mentioned, whenever it's a new school, there's always teething trouble, so you take a call on that, what you're comfortable with. Okay. What college would you suggest for UI UX design? I think Srishti or Pearl for UI UX design, or Native Puppets you could consider. Sasi Institute, Coimbatore. Well, it's a new school, Adya, Sasi Institute in Coimbatore. I have not personally visited it, uh, but I know that they are starting to promote themselves aggressively, and I think you could consider that. Is it worth studying animation from design schools, or can I choose communication design as well? Anita J. Um, Anita, um, so animation is a subset of communication design. VFX is a subset of communication design, right? So you really need to introspect and see what you are keen on. If you are keen on communication design, it's a generalist kind of a degree, and you can really work in various industries. Or if you're very passionate about a specific, specifically animation, you could do a specialization in animation, and that can lead you to those opportunities differently. So I say do what you're passionate about, and if animation is what you're passionate about, go for animation. Adya Sriram, considering the pandemic, design has been hit hard. What is the recovery rate of design? I'm not sure what you mean by design has been hit hard. Uh, could you please elaborate on that? Yeah, right. So I've got a few questions. I think I'm run out of time. I'm ending the session now, but few questions. So which is specifically good for product design? I mentioned a little while ago. You could consider all the colleges on DQ Edge, and if you probably refresh this webinar and start watching this from the beginning, you'll get my perspective on this. All right, Aditya, I'm not sure. So can we get an opportunity to see portfolios of DQ Labs toppers? Yes, actually, Vidya, that's a good question. I'll need to talk to the team because not all the toppers are okay with sharing their portfolio. But what you can do is go on to Behance, and almost all the toppers would have their work on Behance. You can look up their names and search for them there. All right. Aditya, what I meant was that I've heard many designers from companies have been laid off. All right, all right. So there is no statistic to really justify this. What you could hear is short-term changes, but really, I mean, you need to look at it from a statistic level. I think if you're looking at the during the pandemic, what's gone up tremendously is communication design, because people had to go online. They had to improve their UI, they had to improve their UX. All software companies have done tremendously well. All design oriented companies which are online have done extremely well. So I don't think that information is entirely accurate. Okay. uh, Thank you so much. I hope you'll uh, enjoyed this webinar. Aditya, how do we make a good portfolio? Please go back on the uh, DQ Labs channel. We have already done webinars on portfolio. Please go through that. Some of the portfolios have been shared over there. That would be the best way to go about it. The portfolios have been done by Umesh and Sean personally. Umesh personally. So please look into that. That'll give you a brilliant outlook. Okay. Um, right. I think that's about it from me. I know there are some questions related to which schools are good for product design. I've answered this earlier. Please look back on my answers, and hopefully this is good. I hope you've enjoyed this webinar. Please click on the like button. Um, if you've enjoyed this webinar, please subscribe to the DQ Labs YouTube channel, and that'll be great, and that'll be very motivating for us. All right. Last question from Aditya Sriram. I'll answer this before I move on. What is the scope of studying design, considering that many engineers are being trained to act as designers? All right. Um, Aditya, again a brilliant question from you. Yes, many engineers are being trained trained as designers. The reason for that is there are insufficient designers. If you look at, let's say, what you're talking is very relevant in the software industry. If I see the number of UI UX designers graduating from design schools all across India, that is from the IITs and the NIDs alone, there's there's not more than a few hundred students graduating. If I include all the private design schools giving degrees, be it as degrees or the good degrees, uh, it won't go beyond a few, maybe thousands every year. The requirement for designers in by the software industries goes up much higher every year. Like there are thousands of software companies in India. Every company requires UI UX designers, right? Um, and because there's a shortage of designers, that's the reason why they're saying, okay, let me get an engineer and train him in design. That's where it is, right? Um, right, right. Thank you so much. Last question, Shubha Gona is asking: is UID good for UI UX? I think so. Yes, I think so. All right. Thanks a lot. Oh, by the way, those who have not applied to UID, I hope you all apply to UID simply because UID has only one entrance exam in a year, and if you miss that, you've missed it. So I whether you decide to take the school or no, that is secondary. But what I want you to do is at least apply. They have a very robust um, admission process. um, they have a very robust admission process. Please come here, over here, and if you go right to the bottom, there is a application link which you need to click here, and you'll reach the application page. If you have not applied yet, please apply immediately. The admit cards are out, so I would like you to apply immediately and close on this. All right. Um, and if you get your application number, please put it there. We want to know who's applied, and we'll probably help you for round two as well. Okay. Right. um, Thanks a lot. We have various programs starting for round two. Those of you who've cleared NID and NIFT round one, we're open for round two. um, so please contact our counselors and on 959 100 1000. Those who want to sign up for round two, um, please join us immediately, for the crash course batches are starting soon. All right. uh, Thanks a lot. I'm sure that I've not been able to answer all questions, but I hope I've answered them relatively good. um, put it where? Aditya, put it where, meaning I'm not sure. Last question. Or last question by Aditya Sriram. Okay. Uh, won't companies prefer to train engineers since it is cheaper? No, I mean, you'd want to get specialized students, right? You want to get specialized employees. So you would definitely prefer a specialized employee. Um, but because there's no specialized employee, that's why. So remember, engineers are left brained. Their left brains are trained, and they that is the dominant feature of them. Whereas designers think both left brain and right brain. So fundamentally, when you look at a designer, they have different skill sets, they have different thought process, and that is something which an engineer cannot replace, right? So the company will probably say, okay, let me try and train a left brain person in right brain as well, but it's not always that something would work. No, the NID results are not out. Um, Government colleges for interior design in Pune, Ruchita. I'm not sure about government colleges, but you could consider SEPT for interior design in Pune. All right. Um, how Akshat is asking, how can we know if we've cleared NID round one? Just wait for a few days. The results should be out. All right. Ruchita, I've mentioned government colleges for interior design in Pune. I think Pune University has some interior design programs. Um, which is good. So you can consider that, Ruchita. All right. Anyway, it's been a long session. I'm tired, um, and I hope it's been good. Oh, okay. Aditya said put the application number somewhere. So when you fill up the feedback form, please look into the description of this YouTube link. You will see the feedback form there. Click on that. I'm tracking who is applied to UID. So it would be important for you to put that UID number there. So then we will connect with you, and only those who have applied to UID, we're going to connect with you. We're going to help you prepare for the round two for that specially. So please look into that. Okay. Anyway, thanks a lot. I'm sorry if I've not been able to answer more questions, but it's been a tiring session and a long day. So I'm going to end this here and hope to connect with you again. We'll get more schools. So please follow our channel and share this with your friends, share this with your family. The more likes and shares we get, the more motivated we are. And if I call invite a design school to participate, and there's nobody there actually, or there are very few students participating, it's a very embarrassing situation for me. I'm calling them, inviting them, I'm saying my students are there, and if y'all don't participate, then the next time they don't take us seriously. So I would really request you to participate, both for your own personal learning, but also uh, to encourage us as well. All right. Thanks a lot. I'm happy it was a good session. I would please give us the feedback and it'll be great. All right. Thanks a lot. Have a brilliant day and brilliant, all the best to you guys. Bye.